I'm back. It's Teresa with Indigo Moon Arts, and let's get cracking. We're gonna start the process of blending. I hope you find this useful. Again, I'm gonna start with the disclaimer. This is the way I make bottles. It may not be the way you make bottles. It may not be the right way to make bottles. It's just the way that I make my decoupage bottles, and I'm sharing those tips, tricks, and so forth with you. But let's get into blending. This is fun, and I wanted to show you what I have here. I have all different size assorted foam brushes. I have some nice clean water. I have the bottle that we're going to use, and I'm using this one because I think it's not easy, but I think it's one that will work well for this. You see I have lots of foam. I love these foam things. These are called stencil brushes. I use them to get the stippling effect at the end, and the one time that I actually do use metallic paints and waxes, I usually use with the stippling brushes. And then an assortment of regular brushes. So there's a couple things that are really important when it comes to painting if you're a newbie, and if you're an expert, then you know all of this, but I'm going to give it to those people that aren't aware. When it comes to painting, there's difference between a wet brush, a dry brush, what effect that has, how much paint you put on the brush, and so forth. All these things matter in getting a certain technique that you want. So whether the paint is dry, whether the paint is wet. So this bottle didn't take me very long at all. You'll see just how easy it is. You might actually spend more time painting a bottle just one color if you're taking your time and trying to achieve something. So I believe in being messy. And I also, I like to make a mess. And when I make a mess, this is the way I do it. You don't have to do it that way. I use my fingers, my hands get dirty. And I put down craft paper because I like to use it as a palette. This is just how I do it. So if you're neat and you prefer to use little items like this, please go right ahead. So the first thing, let's just jump into it. The first thing that I do, I also use my paint lids. How thick your paint is also matters. So sometimes paints, especially chalk paints, can get really thick like paste. So I keep a bottle, a spray bottle. I'm not suggesting you do this. I'm just showing you what I do. I like my paints a little bit to have more movement. The thicker the paint, then the thicker it goes on, the less it moves. I like to spray a couple sprays of water, and part of the reason I do this is I'm not always, I leave my lids open and stuff so the paints dry out a little bit, and this is where I said you'll see what I mean when I say I'm messy. And then I like to use the paint lid so that I don't create unnecessary. So see this? I use that. And then I'll set this aside again, leaving the top off. When I look at this bottle, I see 3 or 4 primary colors. I see black, obviously. I see gray, but different color grays. I also see purple black. And so you've got black, gray, purple, black, and then some pink or whatever. So when I do a bottle, and you don't have to do it this way, but I don't focus on the back because nobody looks at the back of a bottle. Even if they pick it up, they're not going, oh, what's back here? So I put all the effort and everything into the first half of the bottle, the front part. We're going to cover this bottle really fast, and I'll show you. You can use a brush. You can use a foam. I'm going to use this brush. I like this brush. Now this brush is too wet. Okay, so when I squeeze it, you see that there's water in it, and that's because I just cleaned it. So I want a wet brush, but this is way too wet. So I just take a standard paper towel after I've washed it, and I'm just squeezing it to dry it. It doesn't even need to be completely clean, meaning you see that there's color in it. I'm doing black, and black is black, and it's going to cover all other colors. So then I dip the tip in. I don't know if you saw that. I dip a little bit of the tip. Basically, any moisture I add to this brush is going to be done with just the tip at this point. You can squeeze it off, it doesn't really matter. So anyway, I want a damp brush, but not super wet. I don't want to dip my paint in and have the paint fall off the brush or drip off the brush. And all I'm going to do, this has been Mod Podged, and then it's been primered with that Liquitex gesso. And this is where I dip. I don't know, let me move this into, this is how I'm moving the paint, okay? So I'm just dipping and moving. I'm gonna paint the entire bottle black. But I'm going to blend while the bottle is still somewhat wet. And this is the part in teaching and in creating crafts that's kind of complicated. There's drying time, and that drying time kind of, you know, sucks, I guess. Sorry, that's not a word you like, but anyway. So anyway, I'm basically just covering the back of the bottle. I'm not going to focus on that. So maybe I should, but I don't want these videos to get long. I'm not doing a YouTube. I just want to show you how I blend. So basically, I'm going to do the whole bottle black. Okay, and I'm dipping in my water a little bit, just the tip, and then I'm, you know, covering the bottle. And this is what's good about using that gesso. It pretty much is like a primer. It is a primer, and it absorbs. It makes something easier to paint, like the bottle. So again, please don't, you know, judge that I'm not being perfect, because I'm doing this to teach technique, not for a finished end result. That's not my goal here. What I want to show you is how the beginning of blending works. And once I get enough black, okay, wherever, again, keep your brush. It's all about how wet and dry that brush is to move that paint around. Now, I'm going to even go up here because I don't really care. I'm worried about blending the brush to the image, right? So I'm going to leave about a ½ inch to an inch to a ¼ inch of the white primer. You can even paint the bottom. Again, I'm not worried about that now. Now here's what I do. This is how I go from this, or just a hard line, to making this nice soft, these soft lines that you see. The next color I'm going to use, I see, is the gray. The gray seems prominent. Oh, you know what? Where is my dark gray? Here's my dark gray. Sorry for getting in there. Okay, so this is my dark gray, and this is really important because I see some light gray, but I also see some dark gray. So I'm going to pop some gray into this. And again, I'm messy. I don't care that my colors get mixed. I'm not probably going to use this big brush for the rest of the, this is how my fingers get dirty, in case you were wondering. Then I stick my fingers in there. So we have this effect. Now, I can dip in the the gray, I'm sorry, if I want. This is where blending starts. It starts on the brush itself, not you're just mixing the two colors. That is automatically going to start blending the black with the gray, which it happens kind of naturally and organically because I did not clean the brush. And then I'm just kind of going to get it to the edges. You're going to see what happens here in a little while. Again, we're not trying to be perfect. We're just adding an extra color. Do not worry about being perfect. Imperfect is what makes it actually beautiful. Again, if your brush is getting stuck, if it's not moving the way it should be moving, then you need a little bit of water. And again, I'm not dipping it in. I'm just the tip, just the tip. So here we go. Here's some gray. Now see how the gray has already gotten into the brush, where you're seeing more gray and less black? We're going to keep going with that. And we're also keeping our brush a little bit wetter now because we want that water. We don't want it to run. That's what's critical here, is you do not want the paint to run. You want it to stay where you put it. If your brush is too wet, if it's running, your brush is too wet. Okay, so right now, we're just getting close. You don't have to be perfect, because we're gonna use the foam brushes to pull this color outward. But right now, you can see what we're doing. You see how it already is sort of blended on its own? All we did was add a new dark color that was between the colors to the brush. So we went from black to dark gray, and you're going to see this. It happens pretty fast. See how that almost matches? And why it works is because my black paint is wet. If you had done this bottle, I had done this bottle yesterday and left it dry like this one here, this would not work. It has to be wet. The paints both, the one you're applying and the one you're blending to, both need to be moist. Okay, so now you can blend a little bit now that your brush is already full. Don't worry, you always go back. We're not in the details yet. So now all I'm dabbing in, by the way, I'm not using black. I haven't used black since I did. I'm just continuing to add the gray. See that? All right, I am done with this. Now my image, it already looks more blended than it would have just by adding the second color to the black, right? Now we're going to try to do a little bit of precision here. This is where we're going to go get, I just threw my brush in there. I may need it again. I'll clean it later. So now, how do we get fancy? I'm going to take this size foam brush, and I see that there is some lighter gray and there's some purple. You can pick any color purple, dark, that you think matches. I haven't even opened this one yet. This is much, much too hard for me, so I squirt the water in the bottle and shake it up. Hopefully you can see all this. And I'm just going to put a little bit in here. I just need a little bit. There's very little bit of purple in there. All we're using the purple for is to help us pull out the color. I'm going to dip this little foam brush, a little bit. This is why I use, again, this craft paper. I'm just taking off the extra moisture. I'm dipping a corner onto my foam brush, and I'm going to continue to blend it. See that little bit of gray? I'm like, that's nice. I don't care that I'm mixing colors. That's the purpose of blending. And I'm just blending them on my craft paper here. Watch, maybe a little bit more. Maybe that's too purple, a little bit more gray. I've stepped away from the black, okay? The black, we won't be using the black again. We're strictly blending. And when you start adding down here, you're just matching to the dress. You see what's happening? You're just blending it out, and you can add a little bit more purple if you want. You can add gray. You can do whatever works for your eyeball. But basically, we're extending the image. We're getting rid of that hard line. It doesn't matter that the color's not exact. We can go back and dress that up later if we want. We can add pink, we can add gray, we can do any number of things. And then you can just keep, this is what gives the bottle. Now, I still have the purple because there's purple in the background. Do you see this? There's purple in there. So we're going to do this. We're going to add it out here a little bit. Imperfect. Don't worry about it. Because we're going to blend the gray. We're going to get some light gray, but look, there's definitely black and purple up here. So we're going to do, hopefully you can see this. I can't really see what's on the camera. And this is all we're doing. We're going to go back and make all of this. Okay, so then I want light gray. Where's light gray? Here's my light gray. And again, I just shake the bottle and use a little bit of what's on the cap because it's going to dry. It's not really going to mix. I'm just going to dab here to get a little bit of gray. And then I use this nice little craft papery thing because I just throw it away when I'm done. Anyway, so now I'm going for the lighter gray. See that? See what's happening? I hope you can. I can always add darker gray on top and blend that out. Like there's some really light up here. See this? That's all I'm doing. Just extending the image so that it takes that hard line away. And you don't have to be perfect. It doesn't matter if you run into something else because essentially it is just, now see it's too much light. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to grab some dark gray and I'm just going to blend it there. And when I do this and pull it out, see what happens? And then you can just use this, the drier side. Remember I was using a corner? You can use the drier side because this is now drier. You're not adding paint, you're just stretching it out. You're going over top the actual image itself. And you can do a lot of different things here, but this is what I do. I'm just, see this? Hopefully, I'm sorry if I'm off. I hope I'm not off screen here. But anyway, that's what you do. I'm going to come back with another video. I'm sure this is long and we're going to finish this up where you can see how it works.